It is December 31st, 1944. The world is preparing to step into a new year. But on an airfield in England, there is no celebration. Only frost. The low growl of engines warming up. And young men fastening cold buckles with numb fingers. The 379th Bomb Group is preparing a mission over Hamburg. A place where the sky has become familiar with danger. 37 bombers line up in neat rows, their metal skins shimmering like dull silver morning clouds. Inside one of them, the B-17 known as number 43 to 38,125. Pilot William Leake gently places his gloved hand on the yoke. A small movement, but one that steadies him. Above him, in another aircraft, another pilot does the same. Neither knows their fates are slowly stitching together. The sky that morning is pale, quiet, almost indifferent. No one suspects that it will soon witness something unlike anything else in the war. The bombers lift off one by one, slowly and heavily, like cattle made of iron. Formation flying is a careful dance, meant to provide protection but requiring near perfect coordination. The air is cold, as if the sky itself is holding its breath. The world below becomes smaller, blurred by mist and distance. Inside the cabins, windows tremble gently, and each crew member settles into his role. Some men joke quietly over the intercom, the kind of laughter that sounds more like a charm against fear. Others stare out into the horizon, watching the clouds roll by like sleepy ghosts. Tonight's mission is important. Yet, for now, the journey feels almost peaceful. Almost. By the time the formation reaches Germany, the sky begins to change its mood. Dark shapes rise in the distance. Anti-aircraft flak blooms like angry black flowers against the blue. The B-17s push onward, steady and brave. Their engines hum in unity. A vast metallic choir. The noise is constant. But beneath it, the pilots can sense the delicate balance of flight. That quiet moment when everything feels fine. And then, suddenly, it does not. By the time the formation reaches Germany, the sky begins to change its mood. Dark shapes rise in the distance. Anti-aircraft flak blooms like angry black flowers against the blue. The B-17s push onward, steady and brave. Their engines hum in unity. A vast metallic choir. The noise is constant. But beneath it, the pilots can sense the delicate balance of flight. That quiet moment when everything feels fine. And then, suddenly, it does not. There is no loud explosion, no dramatic tearing of metal. Just a violent jolt, a shudder, like two mountains brushing together. The upper B-17 settles onto the lower one. Perfectly. Terrifyingly. Its landing gear folding into the fuselage below, like claws gripping prey. Both crews freeze. For a second, time hesitates. Inside Leake's cockpit, the windshield cracks. Flames flicker. Flight controls stiffen. Above him, the upper pilots lose half their plane instantly. Yet somehow, they do not fall. Two aircraft, wounded and aflame, are now fused, locked together, moving as one. It is a miracle, made of metal and fear. The strangest thing happens next. The lower aircraft, only the lower one, still responds to its controls. Against all reason, it continues flying. The pilots cannot see well. They can barely hear. The cockpit smells of smoke and engine oil. But the wings still lift. The engines, somehow, still push forward. Above them, the upper B-17 is silent. Its crew tries desperately to escape. But many are trapped. No one speaks much now. There are moments in history when words become too small. Leake makes an impossible decision to turn the fused bombers around and head back toward England. The aircraft groans under the strain. It wobbles, shivers, drops several feet with each gust of wind. The sky does not feel hostile anymore, only vast and uncaring. Below them, the North Sea stretches like a frozen metal plate. Behind them, Germany glitters faintly. Distant fires, quiet cities, the echo of conflict. Ahead of them, home. If the aircraft can hold together long enough. The ocean below is calm. A cold, endless blanket that reflects the gray sky. The fused B-17s drift over it, like a wounded bird, gliding toward an unreachable shore. Inside the cabin, the crew speaks softly, not out of fear, but reverence. They know they are riding inside one of the strangest moments of aviation history. Every few minutes, the aircraft drops again. A long, slow descent, as if gravity is gently tugging at its sleeves. But still, it flies. Still, it refuses to fall. Near the coast, Leake realizes the truth. The aircraft cannot make it all the way across the water. He orders his crew to bail out. Some look back at the aircraft before they leap, as if leaving an old friend behind. Parachutes bloom below, white flowers opening toward the sea breeze. Leake stays aboard longer than he should. Pilots tend to do that. They linger. They hope. But he knows the story is reaching its end. He takes one final look at the strange creature he has flown. Two planes woven into one. And jumps. With no one left to guide it, the double aircraft drifts downward. Slowly, almost peacefully, it hits the ground with a heavy sigh. Not an explosion, but a collapse. Metal folds like paper. Engines sputter their last notes. Wings settle in the grass, like they've finally grown tired. German soldiers, astonished, approach the wreck and blink in disbelief. From afar, some think it is a new Allied superbomber, an 8-engine monster. But no, it is simply two aircraft that refuse to die alone. Survivors are taken prisoner, some injured, some exhausted, all forever changed. They speak quietly among themselves about the moment of collision, the minutes of impossible flight, the miracle of landing at all. One of them jokes gently, the kind of smile one wears after walking away from death. Well, at least we flew the biggest B-17 in the war. When German engineers examine the wreckage, they shake their heads in disbelief. Landing gear embedded in fuselage, engines interlocked, two sets of wings, touching like folded hands. They draw diagrams, measure angles, take notes. One officer simply mutters, "Unmöglich." Impossible. And yet, here it is. History does not always follow its own rules. Decades pass. War ends. Men grow old. Memories soften. But the story of the fused B-17s lingers in their conversations. A strange, gentle shadow. Eventually, some of the surviving crew members meet again. They sit together. Older, quieter, sharing tea and stories. Their voices crack sometimes. But not from sadness. From wonder. Because they know. They are custodians of a rare tale. A moment when machinery disobeyed logic. And did something almost poetic. Historians still talk about it. Aviation enthusiasts shake their heads. Even engineers struggle to explain how two massive aircraft could fit together in midair and stay aloft for so long. But stories do not survive because they make sense. They survive because they touch something deeper. That quiet place in all of us that believes in unlikely miracles. The story reminds us that even in war, in the loudest, harshest human invention, there can be moments of impossible grace. And so, as the night settles around us, let this story drift with you. Two aircraft, born for battle, colliding in the sky, yet choosing not to fall. A strange partnership in the clouds. A brief, impossible harmony in a world full of noise. Tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine them there. Two silver shapes, gliding quietly through the winter air, flying as one, until the very end. Good night. Sleep peacefully, and let history carry you into gentle dreams. Long after engines fall silent, the sky keeps its memories. Pilots used to say that the clouds carry echoes, soft imprints of every aircraft that once brushed past them. If that is true, then somewhere above Europe, a faint double shadow still drifts, one silhouette resting upon another, like a bird with two sets of wings. The sky does not forget strange things like that. It holds them gently, like small secrets. And perhaps, if you could float there quietly enough, you might feel a whisper of that impossible flight. Two machines clinging to each other, defying everything that should have brought them down. Years later, when former crew members told the story, they spoke not with fear, but with softness. One said he remembered the odd calm inside the cockpit, as if the world had slowed to a peaceful crawl. Another remembered the thin crack in the windshield, like a frozen river branching across glass. Someone else recalled the strange hush right after the collision, a quiet so unnatural that it felt sacred. Memory has a way of smoothing the edges of even the sharpest moments. With time, the terror melts away, and what remains is the wonder. And for them, the wonder never left. Aviation historians often describe the event in technical terms: weight distribution, stress tolerances, angle of collision. But even they eventually pause, lean back in their chairs, and admit there is something more here. Something mechanical language can't quite capture. Two heavy aircraft should not be able to lock together in a way that preserves lift. They should not be able to maintain altitude. They should not be able to turn. And yet they did. Engineers draw diagrams, trying to explain the physics. But sometimes the diagrams only make the moment more mysterious, because the numbers say it should not have happened. But history says it did. As time passed, the story spread from veterans to museums, to books, to late-night conversations between aviation enthusiasts. It became a quiet legend, not the loud kind, with medals and speeches, but the gentle kind, shared over coffee, or in the soft lamp glow of someone's living room. Many people who hear it pause afterward. They tilt their heads slightly, as if trying to picture those two great machines gliding together, like a pair of tired geese heading home. The image stays with them, not frightening, but strangely comforting. Proof that even in chaos, there can be unexpected harmony. As this quiet tale drifts to a close, let the image linger a moment longer. Two B-17s in the winter sky, fused by accident, guided by instinct, carried by forces greater than fear. They flew together, in a brief partnership that neither pilot asked for, and yet both honored, with steady hands and unshaken courage. The world below was loud, but up there, in that thin, frozen air, there was only the soft hum of engines, the whisper of wind against metal, and the fragile hope of making it home. Tonight, as you rest, let that calm resilience drift through you, even when the world collides and everything seems uncertain. Sometimes, miraculously, we still find a way to fly. Good night, traveler. Sleep deep. History will keep you company until morning. Some stories feel planned, as if history drew a neat line from beginning to end. But this story, this quiet, impossible moment in the sky, has no neat lines, only soft curves of fate that twist and drift, like wind over wings. Two aircraft meeting by accident, joining by chance, surviving by a breath. It reminds us that destiny is not always loud. Sometimes it settles gently, almost politely, on the shoulders of those who never asked for it. Like a winter coat someone places around you when you weren't looking. The crew did not choose this moment, but it chose them, and for a brief time, they carried it through the sky, as carefully as they could. Not all acts of heroism are made of shouting, or grand gestures, or sweeping orchestral music. Some are made of small decisions, steady breaths, and hands that do not tremble, even when they are afraid. The decision to turn the aircraft home, the patience to keep the wings level, the calm voice guiding the crew to safety, the refusal to panic, when panic would have been the easier thing. Heroism, in truth, is often unremarkable in the moment, because it feels like simply doing what must be done. But years later, when the memory ripens, you realize how extraordinary it was to remain steady in a sky so full of uncertainty. As the fused aircraft drifted over the North Sea, something soft happened. For a long stretch of time, the world below seemed to mirror their fragile balance. The waves were calm, the horizon was smooth, even the winds felt reluctant to disturb them. It was as if the sea understood the delicate nature of what it was witnessing. Far below, British sailors scanning the cold water reported seeing something unusual. A silhouette that looked unfamiliar. A double shape drifting across the sky. Some rubbed their eyes. Some blinked twice. But the aircraft passed quietly overhead, leaving only a faint echo of confusion and awe. No sound. No smoke trail. Just two shadows. That should not have been one. Every person who lived through that moment carried it differently. One kept the memory tucked away, like a secret trinket, a reminder that he had witnessed something the world might never see again. Another spoke of it often, as if retelling the story, kept the strangeness alive, like an ember that refused to fade. Others rarely mentioned it, not because it troubled them, but because some memories feel too delicate to expose to the noise of conversation. But all of them, in their own ways, held on to a single understanding: that life is full of moments where logic steps aside, and something quieter, something deeply human, takes the controls. Courage, chance, grace, a strange mixture that guides us through the sky when nothing else can. And now, as we drift toward the end of this long, gentle tale, let the final image settle over you like a soft blanket. Two great machines, symbols of war, meeting not in violence, but in an eerie, tender embrace. Locked together. Struggling. Surviving. Flying. For a few minutes in history, they became something else. A single creature. With two bodies. 4 wings. And one quiet determination. To make it home. Let that image guide you. Into a deep, peaceful rest. Because life, like the sky, holds moments that do not make sense, but still carry us onward. Good night. Dream softly. And may the strange miracles of history watch over your sleep.